Hi traders, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to go a little informal. I'm stuck in a hotel room in Midtown Albuquerque, New Mexico. I kind of like the vibe of this town now, a little Pueblo, indigenous people's hot spice chili kind of vibe to it. So I'm pretty excited about it. But yesterday I wanted to do a video at one of the airport lounges. I was en route from New York, stop over in Denver, and ultimately to Albuquerque. The airport lounges were packed, so I couldn't really do much there. Try to respect the other, patrons. But I'm looking at my charts, have my laptop, and some guy leans over and says, "Oh, hey, you trade?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "What do you do?" We took my stops a little bit. He says, "What do you trade?" And I said, "Well, mostly futures and options, but pretty much all over the place." "Oh, futures? Isn't that risky?" All right, let's address this trading and gambling question once and for all. All right, so I had a little fun with this guy and, good cordial conversation. But, I hear this all the time, and sometimes, I just blow it off. But I know sometimes I get questions from members saying, look, my friends are asking me about this, or, how do I address this gambling question? And look, I have an accountant for 12 years, and kind of every year we'll have lunch together and stuff, and, hand over my paperwork, and he goes, "Yeah, it's great, Mike. It's interesting. Isn't that risky?" I'm like, "You're my accountant for 12 years. You see the numbers? Give me a break." And quite honestly, people who have a sort of like regular job, I think when you wake up every morning not knowing if you're going to have that job or the slightest economic downturn, and all of a sudden, HR is coming to visit, to me, that's risky. I don't know. So it's actually bothering me last night. I didn't have the best sleep. I was thinking about this gambling question. And I know we have a lot of members who ask me too, how do you address this and stuff? And it's kind of serious stuff. If your friend or your partner or spouse, they perceive it as gambling. I says, well, I talked to the guy in the airport lounge. And, is this gambling? Well, you know what? Last night I Googled a couple definitions of gambling. Let's define it. Gambling is when a person bets or risks something of value, like money, based on a chance outcome that is out of their control or influence, with the understanding that you will gain increased value or lose the original value determined by the specific outcome. Now, that's a handful. let's put the graphic on the bottom. Do an easier one. Gambling involves risking money or material valuables on an uncertain outcome. Okay. Gambling is the wagering of something of value on a random event with the intent of winning something else of value. Okay. I guess based on this definition, I'm gambling. Okay. I don't have a problem with this. It's just words. All right. And I'll be honest, I'm doing this 20 years. I kind of like the fact that people are skeptical. Kind of like the fact that they're kind of on the outside of the glass looking in. I'm just going to let my numbers prove myself. So, but when it comes to a serious question, maybe from a spouse or partner saying, gambling, or their friends ask them, "Hey, is your husband okay? Or does he still gamble that future stuff?" These are serious questions where you don't want to put people in a position or yourself where you have to sort of answer them. So based on sort of the Google definition, they probably have a point. How do we address it? It's really just the sort of stigma of the word gambling that people are perceiving. So I'm basically going to come to the conclusion that I guess their definition is correct. So I understand the gambling thing, but it really is the term itself kind of creates a negative stigma, and it should, because we use the term gambling in the form of eventually you will lose. So this is the way I want to approach it. First, have fun with it. That's what I'm going to do from now on, especially with this guy in the airport lounge. It's like, you know what? That is gambling. Here's the difference. I'm the house. All right. You're going to go to the casino? I'm the house. I'm the casino. All right. I have the edge. Now, does that perception of gambling change in your mind? And just let them answer the question. All right. Now, I do have to execute a plan. I have to do it properly. And I am going to have some variation. Sometimes, that couple from Nebraska is going to fly into Vegas and have, a really good weekend. It's okay. It's part of the whole game. But understand that you want to call me a gambler? Well, I'm the house. Now, how do you feel about that? Right? I have an edge every time I push the button. Now, you're not going to win them all. All right. And that's okay. Again, like I said, I kind of like the fact that, you know what, we're going to have these sort of naysayers. We're doing something very unique and special. I don't know. I love living in that world. So I'll have a little fun with it. And if I have to address people again, I'm really just going to go forward and say, sure, I gamble all the time. Yeah, that's my limit. I do that. But I have a positive expectancy. So I'm the house. So do you want to come into my world and play at my casino? because I have no problem. In fact, I love taking your trades, the opposite side of it, because I know I'm going to win eventually. And I'll be honest with you, that's actually one of my strategies, taking advantage of newbie panic. So I want to conclude this sort of quick video, say, I think we need to change the mindset as a community, or when addressed, to just change the mindset and say, look, you can call it whatever you want. I have a positive expectancy every time I push the button. I have proper risk management skills in place, and that's how I handle it. So one of the things the most valuable to my edge is my sort of state, my mental state of abundance. And I'm not going to let anybody, not including some dude in an airport lounge in Denver, tell me or sort of influence that abundance. I know what I'm doing, right? I know all I have to do is execute my plan, which, by the way, is not easy. That's why this is a very specialist type community where not everyone can do it. Probably that guy can't either, but maybe he can work at a job that he hates and screams and bitches and moans to his wife every day and about his job. And that's okay with me. To me, that's scarcity. I'm not going to live that life. All right. But what I would like to do is sort of change the mindset. And it's not going to be done in a YouTube video, but change that mindset of gambling where we're just manipulating edge. We have a positive expectancy. We just have to sort of take advantage of that. And to do that, we have to have a good process. We have to get a good strategy. And quite honestly, also a good, abundant mindset. All right. Like my mom always said, sometimes I talk to her in the morning and she'll say, okay, Mike, make lots of money today. Like, all right, Mom, sounds good. I love the abundant mindset. And you know what? Mom's always right. All right. You know, one of the things I mentioned to the guy in the airport lounge was how I measure my results. And really, one of the KPIs is profit factor. Now, I didn't get involved in the details and the formula for profit factor, but basically I explained to him is every time I click the mouse, this is how much I make. And he kind of was like, oh, that's interesting. Like he kind of changed his mind a little bit too. But he still had that, isn't it risky? I'm not trying to win them over. All right. But really, I wanted you to think about, you know, sort of how you deal with it too. Because a lot of times as the trader, you also think it's risky. I hear comments where, you know, Mike, I'm struggling and I feel like I'm gambling. I just like, there's no random. It's like, oh, random. Sometimes I'll win some, sometimes lose some. And at the end of the week, it's like, you know, I'm actually down or just lucky if I'm flat. And sometimes the trader gets the perception of this being just one big gambling event, you being the player, not a house. All right. So I also want this to help you change the mindset of your trading as well. All right, I hope you got some value out of this sort of informal chat, but at the same time, a serious issue. Stuck in a hotel room in Albuquerque at 6 a.m. in the morning, and now I find out my flight was delayed, so thank God for late checkout. All right, but address this issue. Also, open your mind to how you communicate this when people ask you. I have no problem living in this sort of introverted world of being a trader. I have no problem. I don't think I have an obligation to explain it to everyone. You know, I live in a state of abundance. My family is provided. I'm okay with that. But if you feel you need to do it, try the gambling, the casino edge type approach. I think it opens the eyes. Even that guy in the airport lounge was pretty cool about it and said, you know, and he was turned his mind to where he's like, how do I do it? Well, maybe you need a coach. All right. I hope you enjoyed this one and we'll see you next time.